Public consultation on fuel mix options for local power supply. A war of words following today's breakfast meeting on constitutional reform. And in Taiwan, protesters occupy the legislature in protest against a cross-strait trade pact.
Good evening. The government is proposing two options in a 3-month public consultation on what the future fuel mix should be to generate electricity. The options are increasing the use of natural gas and buying a large amount of electricity from the mainland. Either way, the government expects future electricity charges to go up. Stephanie Choi reports.
Right now, over half of Hong Kong's electricity supply comes from coal, while natural gas and nuclear power account for less than a quarter each. To cut down pollution from current energy sources, the government is exploring two fuel mixes for electricity generation in 2023. The first option is to purchase energy from the China Southern Power Grid so that this will account for 30% of Hong Kong's electricity supply. As nuclear energy from Daya Bay currently already accounts for 20% of the SAR's power supply, this option would mean half of Hong Kong's energy depends on the mainland. Secretary for the Environment Wong Kam Sing said there's no need for concern about pollution from the power grid.
Both Hong Kong and mainland are going to improve our fuel types so that overall the air quality will be improved. So it's our shared objective.
The second option is to increase the use of natural gas for electricity generation at local power plants. The fuel mix will be 60% natural gas, 20% nuclear power, and 20% coal. For both options, the government says there won't be much of a difference in unit cost, although it expects the cost of electricity generation to double. The government also expects electricity prices to go up.
But whether there will be a big jump in the energy prices, it depends on a lot of factors like the scheme of control agreement and other cost factors.
Borrowing Macau's example of buying energy from the mainland, the government is confident in the stability of the southern power grid. Experts, however, prefer the local option.
All the electricity facilities are controlled by the Hong Kong company, and we are not only reliant on the import electricity from South Grid of China.
But a green group says buying energy from the mainland can make way for more energy options as it encourages Hong Kong companies to explore cleaner fuels that are unavailable locally.
Actually, our power companies can just join them and invest, or even more to propose more new projects in the surrounding area. That's why we believe that it opened up a lot of possibility.
CLP Power said in a statement today it welcomes the government's consultation document. The public consultation started today and will last for 3 months. Stephanie Choi, TVB News.
A war of words has erupted following the second breakfast meeting on political reform. Pan-democratic lawmakers have accused officials of using scare tactics by suggesting there's no plan B. But as Joel De Silva reports, the Chief Secretary for Administration has dismissed the claims.
13 lawmakers attended today's breakfast meeting. Civic Party legislator Kwok Ka-ki and Frederick Foon with the Association for Democracy and People's Livelihood said Pan-Democrats had a chance to express their views on what they believe would be a fair and representative way to nominate candidates in the 2017 chief executive election. But they were disappointed at a lack of feedback from the legal chief of the central government's liaison office, Liu Xin-Kui.
We found that Mr. Lau is only able to record and to reflect the whole conduction of the meetings to his superior in Beijing. And we found this kind of communication will not be able to hasten or to speed up the negotiation or to make clear to the public that the voice of the people of Hong Kong is clearly heard.
Kwok also accused Liu and Chief Secretary for Administration Carrie Lam of using scare tactics by saying there's no plan B if there's no agreement on the 2017 CE election. Lam hit back. She denied she'd said there was no plan B. Lam explained that what she meant was that if no consensus was reached, then the consultation process would have to start again and universal suffrage will be delayed. Later in the day, Kwok insisted his earlier comments were just his interpretation of what happened and that he wasn't quoting Liu or Lam. Secretary for Justice Rimsky-Yoon, who also attended the breakfast meeting, came out with a more optimistic take on the event.
I think on the whole, the breakfast meeting went well, I would say, because this is the first time that LegCo members have the opportunity to directly communicate or have a direct dialogue with representatives from the liaison office.
Although central government representatives have been present at these breakfast meetings, the message coming from disappointed legislators is that communication is a two-way street. And that is why at least some PEN Democrats want assurances that there will be opportunities for direct negotiation before they accept a central government invitation to go to Shanghai next month. João da Silva, TVB News.
The Alliance for True Democracy has proposed reducing the number of functional constituency seats in LegCo in phases. And the Alliance wants to scrap all such seats by 2020. Evelyn Lung tells us more.
The Alliance for True Democracy wants to abolish functional constituency seats in phases. For the 2016 LegCo election, the Alliance proposes reducing the number of such seats from 35 to 20.
The transitional model will still have 70 seats, with the maintenance of the current 35 seats in geographical constituencies, adopting the Hunt formula. However, the number of functional constituency seats be reduced to 20. We believe that this is essential to show the determination to abolish all functional constituency seats eventually.
The group wants to abolish the 5 District Council functional constituency super seats elected by all eligible voters. Jiang said the 20 functional constituency seats will be divided into 3 groups to be elected by a multi-member constituency single-seat system. And the other 15 seats will be directly elected. They will be chosen by proportional representation with the whole of Hong Kong as one single constituency. As for 2020, the Alliance proposes abolishing all functional constituency seats. They will be chosen by proportional representation with the whole of Hong Kong as one single constituency. The Alliance says that's in line with decisions by the National People's Congress Standing Committee that all LegCo seats may be returned by universal suffrage in 2020. Evelyn Lang, TVB News.
Hundreds of protesters are still locked in a standoff with police at Taiwan's legislature after they stormed in last night to oppose a trade pact with the mainland. Diane To reports.
The protesters, mostly students, stormed into the Legislative Yuan on Tuesday night. They pushed police officers out and piled a mountain of chairs at the entrance to block it off. Clashes broke out in the early hours of the morning as police tried to clear the area. Protesters who had gathered outside charged through large steel gates to join those inside. Senior leaders of the opposition Democratic Progressive Party sat outside the legislature in a silent protest. The demonstrators are upset about the passing of a trade pact with the Chinese mainland on Monday by a joint committee, the first of 3 approvals needed to see the bill set in stone. They accuse the ruling Kuomintang party of forcing the deal through as a bundle instead of having each clause scrutinized carefully. It's a follow-up to the Economic Cooperation Framework Agreement, or ECFA, signed in 2010 to boost cross-strait trade. Under the deal, Taiwan will open up 64 service sectors to mainland companies, including retail, wholesale, laundry and beauty parlors. The mainland, meanwhile, will allow Taiwan investment in 80 of its sectors, including the environmental industry and tourism. Opponents in Taiwan are worried this will hurt local small and medium-sized enterprises and cost the island tens of thousands of jobs. They're also wary of moves by Beijing to gain more control over Taiwan. They want President Ma Ying-jeou to come to the Legislative Yuan in person to respond to the people's demands. Speaking at an event today, Ma didn't respond to the protesters, but called on lawmakers to try their best to get the trade pact passed. The DPP is trying to mobilize even more people to join the protest on Friday, when a full parliamentary session is held for a second review of the bill. Many see this as a rally for the opposition to regain political leverage as local elections are due later this year. Diane To, TVB News.
Western nations are promising more sanctions against Moscow after Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a treaty to make Crimea a part of Russia again. Fueling further tensions, a Ukrainian serviceman was killed in a clash at a military base in the Crimean capital. Alan Booknia reports.
Details of Tuesday's violence are sketchy, but the outburst underlines the high tensions over Crimea's weekend vote to split from Ukraine and join Russia. A spokesman for the Ukrainian Armed Forces said the facility was stormed by unknown gunmen. One Ukrainian serviceman manning a tower was killed and 2 others were wounded. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry statement added that the attackers, in Russian uniforms, were holding the Ukrainian base commander in a nearby building. A local pro-Russian news agency said snipers fired on what it termed a self-defense brigade, and 1 member of the brigade was killed.
Нам зрозуміли мотиви.
Ukrainian Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk accused Russia of military crimes and said Moscow had crossed a red line. He sent the country's deputy prime minister and acting defense minister to Crimea to ensure the conflict doesn't become military in nature. In a fiercely patriotic speech to the Russian parliament Tuesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin did not refer to the shooting incident. Putin said the disputed Crimean referendum, held under Russian military occupation, shows the overwhelming will of the people to be reunited with Russia. Putin's speech drew the immediate ire of Western leaders. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said Russia's move to annex Crimea was a clear breach of international law. In London, British Foreign Secretary William Hague called it the most serious test of European security this century.
There is a grave danger of a provocation elsewhere in Ukraine that becomes a pretext for further military escalation.
In the U.S., President Barack Obama's administration said it's preparing for a new round of sanctions.
The President has made it clear that if there is this move to the full annexation, which appears to be clearly the direction that they have decided to move, it will be unfortunate. And it will not be because we want to create some kind of confrontation, but because there is no choice but to enforce the standards that the international community has worked on for so long.
Meanwhile, White House spokesman Jay Carney said the president has invited the leaders of the G7 to a sideline meeting on the issue at a 53-nation nuclear summit in The Hague next week. Alan Booknia, TVB News.
Still ahead in our newscast, staff of the newly established newspaper attacked in Shimsa Choi. Wounding and theft charges against 2 suspects in the Kevin Lau attack case. And in Colombia, an 8-month-old baby weighs in at 12 kilos.